Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to RoboMania 10. My name is Game & Soy, and I am the host of RoboMania, and we have an absolutely amazing stacked card tonight. As everybody knows, we have the main event tonight, which is between the champion of RoboMania, Counter Blitz, putting its titles up against the line, going up against the #1 contender and the hard-hitting Berserker. There's been a lot of hype around this fight, and I am extremely excited for it. A lot of people have been saying they could go either way, and I really have no idea who's going to win this fight. We have a really interesting co-main event, which is going to be between Nuts and Bolts going up against Serpiente, another vertical versus horizontal spinner. Both of these robots are ranked in the top 6, and one of them are looking to become contenders for the champion of who wins after them. So I know whoever wins that fight is going to be watching the main event just because they can be fighting next and they could be next in line. We've seen some contenders as well who can also be in that top 5. Coming off the top of my head, Quap, like just what an amazing robot. That one coming off of another knockout win in the previous RoboMania, an outstanding performance. So there's a lot of good talent. However, this co-main event is going to be pretty important in this top 5. Underneath that, we have a really fun matchup between two horizontal spinners by Pizza Delivery and Smoked Salmon. Now I'll talk about Smoked Salmon a little bit later, but I really want to showcase the two robots, Pizza Delivery and Impact. They are making some comebacks right now. Both of them having already fought in the league. They are going to be trying to come back and climb into that top 15 with a win tonight. Pizza Delivery coming off of a really good win against Visions, while Impact did come off of a loss against Titan. However, it is going to be looking to come back. I'm very excited for it. Something I really want to point out as well, we have 8 robots tonight making their official RoboMania debut. The one that really stands out to me though is Smoked Salmon. I believe it was ranked so high in this fight card because of the hype around it. It is a hard-hitting and yet durable horizontal shell weapon. It is just such a fun robot to watch, and I'm really excited for that matchup. I know you guys have been waiting for quite some time now, and I'm very sorry about the delay on this video. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into the first fight of the night. First up, we have a matchup of the ages. The Hammerbot King Goblin will look to jam up the horizontal spinning disc of gaming setup in a war that many will remember. Here we go for our first matchup of the night. We have gaming setup going up against King Goblin. We have a horizontal gaming desk going up against a goblin with a hammer. This should be a really good matchup. I'm really excited for it. Fighting out of the blue square, we have King Goblin making its official RoboMania debut tonight. It is a goblin who is a hammer robot, a flipper robot, and it's sitting on a chair. That's pretty cool if you ask me. There's nothing really else to say about that one because it's a goblin on a chair. But in its way, we have another very interesting robot making its official debut tonight. This is Gaming Setup, a horizontal desk. It's like an IKEA desk. That's it. That's pretty much it. 3, 2, 1. Let the first matchup begin. This is Gaming Setup versus King Goblin. King Goblin gets underneath and stops the spinning disc right away from Gaming Setup. Gaming Setup is trying its best to try to keep distance, but it just can't do it. It's such a big and wide robot. It's trying its best to... Ooh, is that a 3090 on the side? I'm trying to see inside the desk of, or the actual Gaming Setup itself of Gaming Setup, but not a lot of stuff we can see right now. Meanwhile, Gaming Setup actually gets a good reversal, pinning up King Goblin against the wall. They're both trying to get some separation. It seems like at least King Goblin is trying to keep it squared, keep it up close in the fight, while Gaming Setup is trying to get that distance, but it just can't do it as of yet. And King Goblin is getting some big hits in. It's not doing any damage as of yet. However, there still is a chance that this damage can pile up and cause some damage down the line in this fight. We are a minute into this fight, and it's purely King Goblin just hitting and hitting the top of the glass desk, it seems, of Gaming Setup. Gaming Setup really needs to create some space right here, because without space, this is going to be the entire fight here. almost tipping itself over. King Goblin is doing its best to try to get either robot on its back. Speaking of which, King Goblin gets thrown on its back. I was just about to say, I don't think either of these robots can get up. If they're flipped on their heads, I think that might be the end of the fight. We got to see what happens with King Goblin here, because this could be the beginning of the end. It was doing really well in the first minute, and then it fell over. Very interesting start. Gaming setup not giving it any room anymore. Now this is where it needs. A huge hit makes the arms and the hammer come off of King Goblin. Fire now coming out, but I think that is the flamethrower. There is a countdown, and this might be the end of the fight right here. 3, 2, 1, and that is the end of the fight. Gaming setup gets the win by TKO, flipping it on its back and getting the win. It started out, like I said, King Goblin being in control of the fight, staying up close, getting some good hits. Nothing crazy. But this is where it turned around. It missed a shot, and it flipped itself over. It might have been from the weapon. It might have been on its own demise. I'm not 100% sure, but gaming setup, winner by TKO. And coming off of the win, just like that, gaming setup knocks over King Goblin and gets into the winning column coming off of its debut. Now, we didn't really see a lot of bright sides from either robot. King Goblin did do pretty well when it came to the control aspect of the fight. However, both robots didn't really show the most that they can show. I am curious to see what both robots are going to do in their next fights. However, I'm not really as hyped for this win just because it just knocked over the opponent. It didn't cause a knockout, it didn't out-grapple, outplay, outmaneuver the other robots, so I'm just being a little pessimistic over here. I'm curious to see what gaming setup is going to do, but I hope it does have a better performance in its next fight. It did seem like that weapon was a little bit slow right off the bat, and it could never get that up to full speed. But I feel like once that weapon does get up to full speed, it can really hit and hurt another robot. And as for King Goblin, it was an unfortunate loss because it was winning that fight. And pretty much all it took was for King Goblin to just get knocked over on its back and lose the fight. I would like to see some tree mix maybe, or maybe some sort of self-righting system on the back of King Goblin, so if it does get knocked over, it can move up. And it didn't really seem like it did that much damage with all of the shots that it did on gaming setup. However, the drive was really good, and I do see this robot bouncing back in the future, but only time can really tell for that. A very interesting first matchup of the night, and I know for a fact this next one is going to be a banger, so let's jump right into it. Two robots making their RoboMania debut tonight will come together as the Pokemon-themed Charm will take on the adorable yet dangerous Axolotl Question in a vertical spinner matchup. Here we go. For our second matchup of the night, we have two vertical spinners coming together. This is going to be between Charm and Axolotl Questions. Both of these robots are super cute, and I'm really excited to jump right into it. Fighting out of the blue square, we have Charm. This robot is designed by my fiance, and it is making its official debut tonight. It goes after Charmander. Charmander is a pretty cute Pokemon if you ask me myself, but it's a hard-hitting robot, I will say. And it's going up against another very hard-hitting robot. This is Axolotl Questions, another adorable design. This robot, don't look at its cuteness, because it is one of the hardest hitting robots I have seen so far, and I am really excited for this matchup. 3, 2, 1, let this matchup begin. We got Axolotl Questions going up against Charm. These are two adorable looking robots that are very, very powerful in their own devices. I'm very excited for this one. They're both doing dances around, a lot of gyroing happening. A huge hit on the side of Charm delivered by Axolotl Questions, and I think it is already missing a wheel. Charm only has 3 left now, and it actually backed up right there into Charm. A huge shot from Axolotl Questions, and now a bunch of wheels are coming off. Axolotl Questions seems to be in complete control right now. This is an amazing start of the fight by Axolotl Questions, but it only can take one shot from Charm if it can line it up with only 1 wheel, it seems, remaining. Yeah, that's 1 wheel left. Axolotl Questions is dominating right now, and it is pinning up Charm against the wall, hitting it multiple times, flipping it almost, trying to get it pinned. Another huge shot, and I think that is the rest of the wheels. I think this is going to be the end of the fight. Axolotl Questions is dominating this fight, and we have a countdown starting. Can Charm get out of it with 0 wheels? I don't see any movement at all, and that is going to be the end of the fight. Axolotl Questions making quick work of Charm, winning by TKO. What an absolutely fantastic performance by the debuting robot against a debuting robot. Some huge shots, and it's going up against a weird wedge-shaped chassis, so it didn't have a lot of bite, but it still delivered a lot of hits, pinning it against the wall. There's the final big hit, making all the wheels come off, and just delivering all of that damage. Axolotl Questions completely impressed me today. What an outstanding performance. Well, what an absolutely amazing performance by Axolotl Questions. Honestly, Charm stood no chance in this fight because Axolotl Questions just completely dominated it from the start to finish. Sure, it may have been a little bit of a mismatch on paper, however, Axolotl Questions, in my opinion, is the real deal. I would absolutely love to see Axolotl Questions go up possibly against a horizontal spinner in the future, just so we can see how it'll fare against that, because it seemed like a very fast and powerful robot. Personally, I think Axolotl Questions gained a lot of fans tonight, but that is just me. As for Charm, it didn't really get to showcase anything in its resume. It pretty much lost all 4 of its wheels right off the bat and then just got TKO'd. I would like to see the drive be upgraded, just because we didn't really see any of the power from its weapon, so we can't really judge it as of yet. But once that drive does get upgraded a little bit and it's a little bit faster of a bot, it could be a deadly one in the future. Alright, we are 2 TKOs in a row. Let's see if we can get another finish in this next one coming up. Not only are these robots stunning in appearance, they also pack a mean bite. In a vertical spinner battle, the robot of the month, Distort, will look to start its career out strong, up against another debuting robot by the name of Purple Rush. Here we go for our next matchup of the night. We have Purple Rush going up against Distort. Both of these are vertical spinners, and Distort is a huge favorite in this matchup. Both of these robots, fantastic looking. I love the designs of both of these robots. Fighting out of the blue corner, we have Distort, making its official debut tonight. It also won the Robot Rumble 2 Bot of the Month. It got first place in August. And it's just such a gorgeous design, and this isn't even the design that they put up in that little competition. But in its way, fighting out of the red square, we have Purple Rush, who is just as gorgeous in its own way, and this robot looks deadly. I'm very excited for this matchup. This is going to be a very fun one to watch. 3, 2, 1. Let this matchup begin. Purple Rush against Distort. I am so excited for this matchup. Distort gets immediately flung around multiple times by Purple Rush. This has been a fight I have been waiting for such a long time now. Both of these robots are amazing looking, and both of these robots can really knock out another robot. As I'm saying this, Distort is getting flung around the entire time. Purple Rush is controlling right now. A wheel did, however, just come off of Purple Rush, and it's only a 2-wheel drive, so that is very significant. There is a countdown, but it does get out of it for right now. Distort is trying to capitalize on this, trying to do some sort of damage to that other wheel, trying to get that angle, but I don't think it's doing it right now. It keeps getting flipped on its head. That wedge doesn't seem to be getting underneath Purple Rush at all. We do have another countdown. I think Purple Rush is actually stuck on its own wheel. Oh, is that going to be the end? That is. Distort wins by TKO, wedging Purple Rush up on its own wheel. I mean, I guess that's what happens when you only have 2 wheels, but for the quick minute of that fight, it was pretty much all in favor of Purple Rush until that one shot. I want to see it here. Distort gets flipped up, and I think this is where the wheel comes off, right there. It was that shot that caused the wheel to come off, and it got wedged up against its own wheel. You hate to see it, especially with two hyped robots, but sometimes it happens like that. Distort, winner. Sometimes unfortunate wins and losses do happen, and I feel like it's sort of close to that being the case. I'm not trying to take away any sort of win from Distort when it came to this. Purple Rush was winning that fight. Now here's the thing about this loss. When making a robot and you do have a two-wheel drive, this can happen, especially if the wheels are exposed. I'm not saying this is going to happen every single fight, but there is definitely a chance it can happen. And as for Distort, it pretty much got out-grappled, the wedge wasn't low enough, and it didn't really do that much damage besides to the wheels. But it won the fight, which is pretty much all that matters. This could have just been a weird matchup between the two robots, both of them low wedges, both of them are vertical spinners. It could have just been a fluke of a fight. Maybe I overhyped it personally, but I would absolutely love to see these two robots run it back. I don't know, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below about this fight. I still think both of these robots are going to be fantastic prospects in the future, and I'm really curious to see how both of them are going to progress against different types of weapons. Altogether though, pretty decent fight. Unfortunate ending, but sometimes that does just happen. Alrighty, now let's jump into our next fight. We are 3 TKOs in a row, which is pretty crazy. Let's see if we can make it 4. Nothing is as classic as a vertical versus horizontal spinner matchup. The hard-hitting Impact plans on getting in the way of the powerful horizontal spinner of No Regrets. Coming up next, we have Impact taking on No Regrets. This is a vertical versus horizontal, a classic matchup. I just want to say, look at these fight odds. A huge favorite for Impact, one of the deadliest robots in this competition. Fighting out of the blue square, though, we have No Regrets making its official RoboMania debut tonight. This robot's going to look to make some surprises happen. It's an underdog and is looking to cause a lot of damage. Can it make that upset? Because it has a really hard-hitting robot in front of it, which his name is Impact. This robot has been upgraded significantly since the last time we saw it, and it is one of now the most dangerous robots I have seen. This is going to be an amazing fight with a lot of hard hits. Let's get into it. 3, 2, 1. Let this matchup begin. We got Impact going up against No Regrets. No Regrets having some issues right off the bat trying to get that weapon up, but I think it's good to go now. Impact staying very aggressive, almost hits No Regrets out of the arena immediately, and it's keeping that aggression, trying to keep that weapon from spinning up to full power. However, it looks like No Regrets may have the drive to outdrive Impact. As I say that, Impact getting flung in the air, multiple pieces coming off. Impact is one of the most dangerous robots in this league right now, and it's very scary. It's been updated like crazy as well, and No Regrets is sitting on its head, and I don't think it's gonna recover from this one, to be honest. It's trying its best. The weapon is not strong enough to flip itself over, and Impact is going to get the win by TKO. What is that, 4 TKOs in a row now? That's insane. We have 4 finishes, all pretty much under a minute and a half, and this one, Impact looking stronger than ever, keeping its aggression, flipping around No Regrets like it's the thing to do almost. Here's the shot that really impressed me. Right here, boom! Knocking No Regrets twice. It didn't even touch the ground, it volleyed it. And this was the final shot that landed No Regrets on its head and losing by TKO. Impact. That was an absolute stunning performance by Impact. No Regrets didn't really have a single chance to get that spinning blade up, and Impact capitalized on that by just completely box rushing against No Regrets and controlling and just smacking it in the face over and over again. There was times where I thought No Regrets would fly out of the arena, there was times where I thought Impact would light it on fire, and there was also multiple times where I think the fight could have been stopped before that. And nothing against No Regrets at all. I think No Regrets is one of the most powerful robots in this league, and Impact made it look silly. I don't know. I think Impact is probably going to be one of the most scariest robots. The next Gallo, the next Doctor, the next Counter Blitz even. And I think this robot is going to climb very far in the rankings with even just one more win. For no regrets, I personally think that nothing really has to change. I think it just went up against a very tough robot that wasn't going to lose. A matchup between No Regrets and Charm, for example, could be a really fun one to watch. See another vertical versus horizontal. However, I would like to see No Regrets possibly go up against another horizontal or even some sort of wedge hammer flipper robot, just so we can see how that weapon can really deal some damage. Altogether though, a really fantastic performance by Impact, and I'm really excited to see what the future is going to hold for it. We are 4 TKOs in a row, an outstanding card so far. Let's jump into the next fight because this one is going to be fantastic. Up next, we have 2 horizontal spinners colliding together. Making its debut tonight, Smoked Salmon looks to have a quick night up against the up-and-comer ring spinner Pizza Delivery. For our next fight of the night, we have Pizza Delivery taking on Smoked Salmon. We have 2 horizontal full bodies in a way. One's a ring spinner, one's a full body shell. This is going to be a fun Beyblade-like match where, have you ever seen the Beyblades when they just knock into each other? Fighting out of the blue square, we have Smoked Salmon. This robot is making its debut tonight, and it looks like to be one of the most hard-hitting robots we have seen thus far. It's untested, so we're a little bit curious about what it's going to look like. However, I'm very excited to see what it's going to do, going up as a similar type by the name of Pizza Delivery. This robot has put on performances before. It upset Visions by decision in its previous fight, and it's just been shocking the world so far. So let's see how this fight goes. 3, 2, 1. Let this Beyblade match begin between Pizza Delivery and Smoked Salmon. I've been waiting for this one for a while as well. This fight is going to be just Beyblades knocking together, doing their best to knock each other out of the arena. I don't even know what to expect here. It does look like Pizza Delivery actually knocked off one of the pieces of Smoked Salmon, which is significant because now it's going to be unbalanced for the rest of the fight if it goes the distance. Oh man, that's huge actually. I think more pieces are actually already coming off of Smoked Salmon. Pizza Delivery looking good right off the bat. It's not getting its spin up fast enough. However, I think Smoked Salmon's actually helping with its speed, with the RPM on its ring. Oh, this is actually crazy. A little bit of imbalance. Whoa, are you kidding me? A huge shot by Smoked Salmon. And I think it just knocked out Pizza Delivery. Are you kidding me right now? I see something. I think that's an ESC over in the corner on the right. And Smoked Salmon, in its debut, knocks out Pizza Delivery. I gotta see that replay once again. That was insane. I'm not even sure what happened there. It started out with Pizza Delivery knocking off part of Smoked Salmon, which led me to believe that it was in favor of Pizza Delivery for that fight. You can see parts are coming off of Smoked Salmon. Well, let's see. This is the part. It gets underneath and destroys from underneath Pizza Delivery. Oh, what a crazy fight that was. Are you absolutely kidding me right now? I'm at a loss of words. That was such a great performance, a great shot by Smoked Salmon, wobbling Pizza Delivery and getting underneath just to knock it where its soft side is. And don't tread lightly, Pizza Delivery is a tough robot. We saw it go toe-to-toe against Visions and win a decision. And Visions is one of the best robots in the league. And then Smoked Salmon comes in here and knocks out Pizza Delivery. I am extremely excited to see what the future holds for this robot. I think it's already getting close to that top 15. With maybe one win away, it will already be there. Now here's the thing. Smoked Salmon beat a good robot. Its next fight is probably going to be against a good robot as well. So we are putting it up against 2 really good tests right off the bat in its debut. And if Smoked Salmon can win those 2 fights, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm going to say. I'm going to just claim it the next contender right there. As for Pizza Delivery though, I think it just got unlucky. It got unbalanced just a little bit and then it got hit in a spot where it didn't want to get hit. That does happen sometimes in this sport. Pizza Delivery is now 1-2 going into its next fight. The good news though, it won't fight as tough as an opponent than it did just now. But I do think Pizza Delivery needs to come off of a win for its next fight. Only time can tell, but I'm really excited for the future to see what happens with Smoked Salmon and how to see Pizza Delivery bouncing back. We are 1 fight away from the main events, but first we have an outstanding co-main event fights. So let's jump right into it. For the co-main event of the evening, 2 of the top 10 robots will collide together to see who deserves to be in the top 5. The always entertaining Serpiente will look to dismantle the updated and aggressive Nuts and Bolts. Ladies and gentlemen, our co-main event of the evening, this is going to be between Nuts and Bolts going up against Serpiente. Both of these robots, really fun to watch, Serpiente especially. Both of them not really known for finishing other robots, so I'm curious to see how this is gonna go. Fighting out of the blue square, we have Serpiente. Like I said, this robot, 2 fight of the nights already, 1 performance of the night. It's always putting on a show, even when it loses, so this robot always knows what it's gonna do. But in its way, we have an interesting matchup by the name of Nuts and Bolts, not Mutts and Bolts. This robot is on a 2-fight winning streak, and it just came off of a knockout win against Red Dragon, getting its first finish. Can we see another finish today, or will it go to a decision? 3, 2, 1, let our co-main event begin. This is between Nuts and Bolts and Serpiente. Right off the bat, Serpiente goes flying in the air, and Nuts and Bolts is knocking it around, almost flipped itself over. This is the classic vertical versus horizontal spinner here, and another huge shot by Nuts and Bolts. Serpiente is trying its best to jam up that spinner, but it seems like Nuts and Bolts is just staying strong with it, keeping its distance, and parts are coming off of Serpiente. Some huge shots, throwing it at the wall from its hit. Serpiente staying back now. It's waiting for Nuts and Bolts, and a part actually comes off of Nuts and Bolts now. That's part of its spinner, I believe, which is, it's huge. Both of the parts of the spinner are off of Nuts and Bolts, and now it's just a blade. It doesn't have the actual Nuts and Bolts on the end anymore, and Serpiente might be making a small comeback in this one. Serpiente always puts on the best fights I have ever seen, and it's already starting pretty crazy with this one. Another pretty big shot by Nuts and Bolts. They're both keeping their distance now. Just a minute and 15 seconds into this fight, both of these robots are already dragging their way to the finish line. Can we see a finish with this one? That's the big thing about both robots. They never really produce finishes, but they always put on pretty good fights. Another huge shot by Nuts and Bolts, flipping it around multiple times. Serpiente has been, I feel like it's been in the air more than it has been on the ground at this point. Couple more big shots. Serpiente is just waiting at this point. I mean, that's probably the best strategy because of the lack of wheels that are left in. A huge shot by Serpiente shoots off one of the arms of Nuts and Bolts, and now it is imbalanced. That is actually insane. Can it do any more damage? It's trying to get underneath. It's being aggressive now, but it just can't get underneath those wedges of Nuts and Bolts. And it's just getting out-grappled at the moment. That is insane. Nuts and Bolts taking it for a small little ride now. Can anything really happen here? Both robots, like I said, they're limping at this point. 30 seconds left in the fight. And Serpiente is getting out-grappled now. That is not what you want to see if you're a Serpiente fan. You want to see something big here. If this were to go to the judge's decision, I'm not exactly sure. I've seen Serpiente in the air a lot, but however, the weapon of Nuts and Bolts is also getting destroyed, and it still is. That is insane. 10 seconds left in this fight. Can we see something? Can we see a final shot that will maybe persuade the judges in a specific way? We're just seeing some grappling at the moment, and it looks like we are going to the judges' decision for this fight. What a fun fight that one was. The entire time it seemed like something was coming off of either robots. As you can see, it started out with Nuts and Bolts honestly dominating the first minute or so of this fight, flipping around Serpiente multiple times in the air against the wall, and it ended. Something happened around here. I'm not sure exactly when it was. Right here, actually. That's when the nut and bolt of Nuts and Bolts came off of its weapon, making it fly around. That was the big shot for Serpiente, the first big shot. And then Nuts and Bolts kind of came back a little bit until this moment, where Serpiente came back and started doing more damage to Nuts and Bolts' weapon. I'm very interested to see what the judges are going to say on this fight. I'm not sure who won this, but this is going to be a close decision. While we wait for the judges' decision, let's take a look at some of the statistics of this fight. Now, I have a new little layout for how I'm going to be doing this. Instead of doing it minute by minute, we're going to do the totals with some cool looking graphs and everything. As you can see though, Nuts and Bolts did have the advantage in significant strikes, flips, and the pins, while Serpiente did land more regular strikes. I'm just trying to think. I do think Nuts and Bolts won that first minute. Serpiente made a close comeback in the second and third, but Nuts and Bolts also landed a lot of shots in those 2 minutes as well. This one could be a split decision, this one could be all for Nuts and Bolts, and I can see Serpiente also getting the favorite in at least 2 out of 3 of those minutes. And keep in mind, all you have to do is win 2 of the 3 minutes in a judge's eye and you'll win the fight. So I'm very curious to see what the judges are going to think about this, because I think it was a really close fight, but I'm honestly not that sure. I am hearing that the judges' decision is in though, so let's see who won this fight. Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 minutes, we go to the judges' scorecards for their decisions. The judges score this contest 30 to 27, 29 to 28, and 30 to 27. For the winner, by unanimous decision, Nuts and Bolts. And with the judges' decision, Nuts and Bolts progresses on and wins by a unanimous decision. Now the scorecards were 30 to 27, 29 to 28, and 30 to 27, which means 2 of the judges did see Nuts and Bolts winning all 3 minutes of that fight. Personally, I did think it was a little bit closer. Could have just been my biasm, I'm not exactly sure. I'm a huge fan of Serpiente, and I always get extremely excited whenever I see it fight. But with that, Nuts and Bolts, who was already ranked 4 before, will be moving up in the top 15 and now has official RoboMania record of 4 wins and only 1 defeat. We may see Nuts and Bolts in a title eliminator in the future. I'm not exactly sure what to expect, but I do know that Nuts and Bolts will most likely be getting the headline in a future card. As for Serpiente, it lost again. Its record does go down to 2-2. However, I am still very excited to see what's going to happen for the future for this bot. As I said, it puts on performances, and at that point, even if your record doesn't show, I still love it. And I think Serpiente is going to be staying in this league for quite a while. Altogether though, an outstanding fight. Personally, my pick for fight of the night thus far, and a huge congratulations to Nuts and Bolts for getting the co-main event victory. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the night already. Our co-main event between the champion Counter Blitz and the #1 contender Berserker. Can Counter Blitz remain champion, or can Berserker claim the titles itself and become the new champion?
A day will come when the champion is confronted by a challenger with great power. It's up to you to defend your titles, or to take the crown yourself.
3, 2, 1, go.
There can only be one king.
Can it get underneath? They're locking horns just like that. There is smoke coming out of the former champion werewolf.
Counter Blitz. Blitz.
Counter Blitz is the new champion of RoboMania and is now the undefeated champion. Are you kidding me?
Berserker.
Counter Blitz has shown zero weaknesses, but I think Berserker is the perfect counterpart.
Who will walk away?
Berserker completely rips off the entire flipper of Airborne. It is now on fire and dying.
With the title of champion.
This is the hardest hitting robot I've ever seen.
Find out on RoboMania.
Oh, I am so excited for this matchup. We have Counter Blitz, the champion, going up against the #1 contender, Berserker. Both of these robots have shown that they deserve to be in this spot right now, and I'm very, very excited for this. Fighting out of the blue square, we have the challenger. This is Berserker on a 3-fight winning streak with 2 TKOs and a decision win. This is one of the hardest hitting robots in the league with the most bite, and this is exactly what I think needs to go up against the champion, which is fighting out of the red square. This is Counter Blitz, the 5-0 robot, undefeated, the current champion, the Battle of the Rookies 2 winner. I don't have enough time to talk about it. Let's jump right into the fight. 3, 2, 1. Let our championship matchup begin. Counter Blitz going up against Berserker. This fight is going to be insane. Counter Blitz gets underneath right away and is causing some damage, throwing it against the wall. Berserker is going to try its best to keep that distance. That's the big thing about this robot. But that wedge, parts are coming off of Counter Blitz, the champion right now. Oh, a pin now against the wall. Counter Blitz, this is its game. You got to stay underneath it. You got to stay underneath Counter Blitz. That's the only way to beat Counter Blitz, in my opinion. And the only way for Counter Blitz to beat Berserker is to get underneath it. So this is going to be a war of the wedges, in my opinion. And if Berserker can cause any damage, stuff is coming off of Counter Blitz as we speak. While I say that, though, Counter Blitz does get a really good pin up against the wall on Berserker. Pretty back and forth so far. Both of these robots are not stepping back. Berserker's trying its best to keep some distance. And it's trying its best just to land a couple shots. That's all it needs. A huge shot right there by Berserker. Knocks off part of the wheel of Counter Blitz. And Counter Blitz getting underneath yet again. Pinning it against the wall. Getting its back, actually. That's pretty big. Counter Blitz hasn't been shown to do that much damage as of yet to Berserker, which is what it's kind of known for. Berserker is known for one of the best bite robots in the league. And a huge shot by Berserker, countered by Counter Blitz. One of the spinning discs on Counter Blitz is gone now, while Counter Blitz countered with a pretty big shot, sending Berserker against the wall, and now it is staying aggressive, slamming into the wall a couple times. I'm not sure if either of their weapons are working right now. I know at least one of Counter Blitz's weapons is gone. I think one of them is still working. Another good pin. Flipping it up on its face pretty much right now. We're just under a minute left in this fight, and Berserker is now on its head. This is not good for Berserker. Can it get out of this? It needs its weapon to go. We have a 6-second countdown right now. And can it get out of it? That is the end of the fight. Are you kidding me? Counter Blitz is still the champion of RoboMania with a TKO on Berserker. When it seemed like it was going back and forth for a while, Berserker getting flung into the wall multiple times, but also landing the bigger shots. That is what we were expecting to see in this matchup. I want to see the shot later on. Look at those shots. Berserker's just such a hard hitter. I believe this is where the weapon or the motor gets shot out of Counter Blitz, and Counter Blitz comes back right away and just starts pinning Berserker like it was nothing. Oh, what two absolutely amazing robots in this fight. Two highly performing robots. What a good fight. This is where the beginning of the end was. Counter Blitz gets that push up against the wall, and Berserker falls right on its head. and could not escape, and that was where the fight ended. Counter Blitz is still the champion. What a wild ending to that fight. It was back and forth for such a long time, and then out of nowhere, Berserker gets one huge shot on Counter Blitz, knocks off its motor, and then Counter Blitz takes offense almost, and then finishes the fight within 20 seconds after that. The champion is now 6 wins with 0 losses, and will now be looking at the next RoboMania 15 fight card for a new challenger. Now, we did see Counter Blitz get a little bit damaged today. It was a little bit different from all the previous fights, and we chalked that one up to Berserker. Berserker, like we said, is one of the hardest hitting robots in this league, and it definitely challenged Counter Blitz the most out of any opponent so far. With that being said, I don't think Berserker is going to fall at all in the top 5, but we will see once the rankings do come out. I do think that there can be a possible rematch in the future. Berserker would have to get some pretty significant wins, but I believe that it can absolutely do that. And now that Nuts and Bolts has beat Serpiente, we might be staring at a Counter Blitz Nuts and Bolts in the future. We gotta remember Quap is in that as well. We have Wombo Combo also trying to make a statement, and we're forgetting about Parallel Paradox even. There's a lot of top 5 robots that can really make a difference in this championship. We're gonna see some title eliminators in the future. I'm really excited for it, but for now, Counter Blitz is still the champion. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching RoboMania. Like I said before, I know I took such a long break. I started a new job and I'm still kind of getting adjusted to the schedule. Did you know people wake up before 4 a.m.? I didn't know that, and now I do. It's awful. I'll try my best to get back on track with everything, uploading videos. Even if it's updates, I just want to stay active on this channel because it really is one of my passions. I do hope you really enjoyed this fight card though. I put a lot of work into it, especially with my busy schedule. It would mean the absolute world to me if you guys wrote down in the comments below what you liked about it and what you disliked about it. I love feedback, so even if it is negative, that's totally fine by me. Anyways guys, that will be the end of the fight card tonight. I really hope you enjoyed it. I got some big stuff coming up in the future as well, so keep an eye out for it. But I will catch you guys all next time on RoboMania.